And we're back!
Hello.
Hello.
We are back.
Hold on,
I thought
we're
we
gonna
were away.
voice memo that hello.
Voice that memo. Voice it so much.
Hello.
We have a memo?
Yay.
There
Voice
is a
that memo.
Voice memo. Robots in disguise.
Now we're gonna be copyright infringed.
It's all DJ's fault.
That was parody.
Parody the parry. Wait, I
This
said
is
that
a
backwards.
parody.
Alright. So, back
Transformers. Oh.
Over the next several hours, we searched the cabin from top to bottom. My controller isn't working. There it is. I hobble along the ground floor, careful not to look out the window, even when the drumming starts up again at a few points. I check all the shelves, under the chairs and tables, in the stove, in the pantry, between the cracks in the floor and walls. We don't find anything. At some point, I almost topple over from dozing off, and that's when we call off the search. There's some discussion as to where we should sleep, if we should do it in shifts. Jenna suggests she stay downstairs while the rest of us sleep, just in case something else happens. Carl suggests that I sleep in the bed upstairs because of my leg, and I have to agree with him.
Carl's route.
Raven stays downstairs with Jenna, making himself comfortable in one of the chairs. As Carl hobbles up the stairs with me on his back, Jenna watches us the whole way. I sit on the bed, watching as Carl moves about the room, looking behind shelves and under the bed. Carl, I hate to ask again, but are you okay? He looks back at me.
Yeah, I'm fine. I just want to make sure everything is safe for you.
Thanks. It's just you seem different, I guess. Carl looks at the ceiling, seemingly thinking. It's difficult to make him out in the darkness. Just like when he had a sheet over his head, I get the weird feeling that who I'm looking at might not be Carl.
I think it's just that this has made me grow up. I realize now how useless I've been. This sort of an opportunity for me to actually do something. Help people, you know?
Yeah. It sounds nice, but I can't get rid of that nagging feeling that something is off. It's in the way he talks, the way he moves, right down to his facial expressions. I swing my legs gingerly onto the bed and lay back. Carl comes over to sit on the other side. Gonna sleep here too?
Yeah, you need me to get around, so I'm gonna be by your side as much as possible.
Alright. Thanks. As we lay awkwardly on our backs for a moment, Carl suddenly turns to his side and pulls me into his chest.
Cuddles.
I'm surprised and turn instinctively so that... Do I need to squeak that?
No.
Matt,
Spooning is like, yeah, come
Is
on.
that I don't know if YouTube's
No,
okay with that
spooning-
word.
Spooning? It's a way to cuddle.
Yeah, it's a cuddle position.
Okay. So that he's spooning me.
Alan is so disappointed.
Easy.
More because, like, this is just me being an ace, and that is, like, one of those terms that I don't see a lot out in, like, actual romantic context. I usually see it only in, like, the other context, which I am not going to say.
Oh yeah, no, you can straight up have spooning in a romantic context fairly often, actually.
Yeah, even without it being like, even without, yeah.
Ah, okay. I guess it makes sense after our semi-confession back in the mansion. He nuzzles my neck, but again, the action is weirdly unnatural. Even with his big warm body next to mine, it takes me a long time to fall asleep. I open my eyes and blearily I can make out the dark cabin room. My heart sinks again at realizing where I'm at, but it's more subdued this time. Guess I'm getting used to my new life. My mouth is dry. Very dry. And I feel like I need to find water or I'm not going back to sleep. I sit up. Carl's moved onto his side of the bed at this point, lying on his back, snoring. Quietly, I get out of bed, wincing at how creaky the floorboards are. I make my way down the stairs, eyes adjusted to the point where I can barely make out the ledges. When I reach the ground level, I see that Raven is splayed out on the carpet, snoring as well. I shake my head before moving to the kitchen. Jenna isn't there, and I wonder where she might be at. Was she in that other room upstairs? Maybe I just missed her when I was distracted by Raven. Looking around, I see a small cup sitting on the table. I'm almost positive that it hasn't been there before, but maybe Raven or Jenna had set it there. Walking over to it, I'm relieved to see that it's filled with what looks like water. I pick it up and
Oh,
sniff
don't
at
do it.
not really getting a hint of anything. Tentatively, I take a sip
Don't do it.
and immediately spit it out. It's salty, putrid. It tastes like... I jump, and some of the liquid splashes to the floor. Gingerly, I set down the cup, looking into the opposite room. Everything is still in the other room. I can't even hear Raven snoring anymore. This time I see the wardrobe move, the door specifically. I stare wide-eyed. Everything falls still again, but I don't dare move. Jenna? I whisper loudly. It wouldn't make any sense why she'd be in there, but who else would it be? Ghosts, of course. I'm about to take a step forward, toward the stairs maybe, or to at least wake Raven up, but that's when the small door cracks open. I freeze, all the fur on my body standing up. James? Words die on my tongue as something long and black slides out from behind the door. It dips down towards the ground, and only then does it vaguely take the shape of a foot. Another long black tendril follows, slightly ahead of the first one. When it touches the ground, it takes the shape of a hand, resting flat on the wooden floor. I choke and start to try and back away, but then the door explodes open, and I'm just barely able to make out a galloping black shape before it engulfs me. I collapse back onto the ground, twisting, trying to scream, but the thing is completely covering and smothering me. I choke and gag, feeling like I'm being suffocated, my arms pinned to my sides, my legs rigid. As I try to yank away from the thing, it feels like something is freed from my mouth, and I'm able to scream. Help! Get it off me! Help!
Chase!
The surface underneath me becomes soft, the thing on top of me warm. Through bleary eyes, I look up at Carl, just able to make out the curve of his horns. Carl? I hear movement at the doorway, and I glance in the direction to find Jenna standing there, hackles raised, teeth bared. Jenna? Before I know what exactly is going on, Jenna sprints across the room and jumps on the bed. Carl doesn't even have time to turn around before she snatches him up by the horns and yanks his head back violently. The ram lets out a choking sound as he's dragged back and thrown to the floor. Jenna jumps off the bed after him. From the sound of it, she lands on him. What follows is a series of thuds and smacks. Weakly, I pull myself to the foot of the bed, still completely disoriented.
I knew it, you motherfucking piece of shit!
What I see is Jenna sitting on Carl's back, swinging her fists into his head while the ram tries to cover up.
You haven't changed at all.
Jenna, stop! I roll off the bed, confused as to why I'm so weak. Pain shoots up my leg again, but this time I barely noticed it. There's something around Jenna, something big and black, like a shadow, making her look much bigger than she actually is. Her fists swing and hit Carl with a force I didn't think she was capable of. Then she grabs Carl by the horns again and yanks back before slamming his face back into the floor. Jenna! I lunge forward, trying to put myself between the two of them. Underneath me, Carl has gone limp. Just like Jenna, there's something black and shadowy around him as well. But it's fading, moving away. Jenna's still trying to get at Carl, reaching around me, snarling in my ear, a sound that makes my fur stand on end. Then she's gone. I look to my left and see Jenna being drawn back by Raven, his eyes wide with shock.
What are you doing?
Jenna struggles in the husky's grasp.
I saw him. He was trying to fuck the otter.
The otter? Jenna, stop! He was helping me! Raven continues to try and pull Jenna towards the door, but she continues to struggle. I was having a nightmare. Jenna's struggling loses some of its vigor, but she continues to snarl in Carl's direction. Raven, please get her out of here. The shadow around Jenna seems to shrink, and her face shows some doubt as she stares at the crumpled form of Carl. After a moment, she seems to let the husky lead her from the room, and I hear soothing tones from Raven as he leads her down the stairs. I turn back to Carl, who has his arms around his head, face still buried in the ground. After a while, I see his shoulders heaving with sobs. Gently, I pull one of his arms back, and he looks up at me. This time, I recognize his face. I sit next to Carl on the bed, mopping up his face with his blood-stained button-up shirt. He sits there silently, looking at his hands while I work. At least nothing's broken.
Dude, what happened?
I'm not sure if he's talking about what happened with Jenna or just everything. I've been asking that same question since we got here. He looks at his hands again.
I felt different.
I sit back and look him over, satisfied with having cleaned up most of his face. You were acting different too.
Like, I felt like I knew everything. I knew what I was doing.
You were acting really confident. I agree and set his blaze shirt off to the side. When I look back at him, he seems so sad and beaten down that I have to hug him.
Dude, you're gonna make me start crying again.
His voice cracks, but he hugs back anyway. I'm just glad you're back. I felt... Somebody is honking as loud as they can.
Come on!
I actually didn't hear it on this end.
That would be somebody's car alarm, actually.
Yeah, I thought I heard like one brief honk.
Oh, it's not brief over on my end.
Oh jeez.
Okay, no, that's not a car alarm. That's somebody honking.
Wow.
Well, they stopped.
Your food, it's ready.
Or get out of your apartment.
I'm waiting for you.
Oh, jeez. I'm just glad you're back. I felt like I was talking to a stranger. Carl leans against me and sighs.
I don't know if I'm glad though. It's like I just came down from a huge high.
I rub his shoulder for a while before I venture forward with my guess. Was it James?
I don't know. Maybe.
Carl looks at his hands again, like he's questioning if they're even his.
I just felt like I knew what I wanted. And when things didn't go the way I thought they would, I'd get really pissed.
He's silent for a while. I imagine contemplating what he had just gone through. Jenna really isn't acting like herself either. Carl looks up at that.
Yeah, I felt like whatever was in me, whatever it really hates, what Jenna's doing is for some reason.
Carl looks around the room, scanning it with his dark green eyes.
I feel like all this is some kind of mental fight between James and whatever else is fighting against him.
He looks back down at his hands.
That's why we have to do all of this.
He falls back into silence, and I don't ask any more questions, wanting to let him rest a bit. There is one nagging thought that comes to my mind, though. This is kind of stupid, but what happened back in the mansion? You know, that thing between us? He looks up at me, and I feel my face flush, looking away. I guess I'm wondering if any of that was real? I mean, if it was really you feeling that way. Carl doesn't say anything, so I'm forced to look up at him. When I do, he has a sad sort of smile on his face.
Dude, I think that was the only part of me that was real.
Despite where we are, despite everything that's happening, that somehow makes me feel incredibly happy, and it makes the person voicing me think that I'm incredibly stupid to be thinking about romance in a horror situation.
No comment.
I mean, come on, dude. Why do you watch any horror film?
I don't know, maybe not to see people fall in love. I don't get how you can fall in love during a traumatic situation, honestly.
There's actually a whole thing. It's a thing on, like, if you see, like, with people with, like, not people who had COVID, but, like, people who, like, were quarantined together and weren't dating.
That makes sense, because that's a long time you're stuck together, and your life's not under threat of somebody stabbing you to death at some point.
I mean, that's fair.
Yeah.
But
True.
like, I don't get like, oh yeah, we're all being chased by Freddy Krueger. Oh, we survived. We're gonna now be dating. We're totally gonna have a healthy relationship. No, you're not.
Oh,
Okay, totally.
the healthy relationship. No, you're not.
I want to, like, make a meme now of just all the couples that get together doing, like, super traumatic things in movies. And it just, at the end of the movie, it goes, we're going to have a healthy relationship. Hashtag, no, you're not.
Literally,
That-
any horror movie that has a sequel pretty much proves that.
Oh my gosh.
Not even horror, right? Like, even adventure movies. It's like, wow, we shared this extreme high together of, like, I don't know, doing this crazy
Adventure
thing.
thing.
And then the adventure's over and you're like, could you cook dinner?
We did
Right,
it.
like-
We blew up the asteroid and saved planet Earth. Now we can totally go back home and enjoy a nice, quiet Sunday evening and not have any horrible, crippling issues because now we have an unrealistic expectation of what feels good.
That's fair.
Although you do have, well, and again, this is also like a very different kind of scenario. You do also get, there's the couple that got together during 9/11.
Oh yeah, but they weren't actually in the traumatic situation.
were-
That's why that works.
Oh, okay.
Nope.
Yeah, because like that's
So-
the thing is I don't get. I've never heard of people getting together during a traumatic scenario and it working. Maybe that can happen. I just have never heard of it.
So what happened with that 9/11 situation was, you know how they, like, America became a no-flying zone immediately?
Yeah.
So there was a couple that was on an airplane,
Well, they're two people.
two separate airplanes actually. No, the same airplane.
I thought they were.
They were on the same airplane and they didn't know each other at all. But they were, parked in Newfoundland because that's where we parked all the airplanes. So they're parked in Newfoundland and they meet, but it was for them, it wasn't really traumatic. It was like a little mini weird, super weird, awkward vacation. Because, like, they knew something crazy was going down in the United States, but they didn't quite know what. They just knew that their airplanes just got grounded in Newfoundland with, like, 28 other airplanes.
Yep.
And
And not many people had cell phones at that point.
and so while they were there, they found love.
Well, that's kind of nice for them at least.
It's super adorable.
And they're still together.
Yes. They are still together like 20 years later.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But they weren't in the trauma, right? Like, they weren't
Yeah.
like...
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did. I think they did have survivor's guilt, and I don't know, maybe they probably still have survivor's guilt.
Yeah, they had survivor's guilt. They were like, well, so we found someone we loved.
And a bunch of people died.
That's awkward.
Hmm. But I mean, like, you can guilt yourself about coincidences like that. Because, like, for example, I literally know that I could not exist without a whole bunch of tragedies having taken place throughout, like, history. Flat out, like, various ancestors I can point to and go, yeah, they had horrible, horrible shit happen to them, but it pushed them into this other location that then allowed them to meet their spouse.
Mm-hmm.
And I can count at least like 4 or 5 different times on my family tree that had to have happened. Otherwise, I just wouldn't exist in this world.
That's fair.
So it's one of those weird scenarios where, like, it's not great, but it also doesn't take away from having happiness.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, but okay, so that's the thing, right? Like, Carl and Chase have a history with each other, right? Like, this isn't like...
Yeah, I will agree with that. It's not just coming out of nowhere.
Yeah, right? Like, this is some... They've kind of... They even had that one scene when everything was good where they kind of flirted a little bit. So, like, it's not like this is coming out of nowhere. It's like they're pushed to extremes, and in extreme events, you look for mundanity.
I guess that would make sense.
So, like, hey, life is going crazy. We are literally... An evil thing is attacking us. So, you know what? I'm gonna, like... I know, like, it feels like we've been trying... Like, we've been basically close to death, and so now I profess my love, kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, I can get that. Especially, like, if you're in the mentality of, well, I either do it now or I die.
Correct. And that's I think, where he is. He's, like, the one normal thing in his life right now is Chase.
Okay.
I'm with you on this, though. You know, let's focus on getting out of here first. This isn't the time to make out, but, you know, I'm hella buff in this shirt, so...
You know, they always said not to build on an Indian burial ground, but they never said anything about making out.
Alrighty.
Woof.
And back to the story?
Yep. Happy enough to lean forward and kiss him. He kisses back, and while it's barely more than a peck, it has my entire body feeling warm. He puts his own arm around me, and I pull back and rest my head on his shoulder.
I feel like it's gonna try and come back, though.
I look at him. What, James?
Whatever it is, I can already feel it like it's on the edge of my mind.
Do you think you can fight it? Carl sighs, then looks at me.
Should I?
What do you mean?
I mean, it made me feel amazing, like I could do anything. Maybe we need that?
I frown. I don't know.
Not only that, but I felt like I knew what to do. It might save us.
He stares back into my eyes.
I know it's not really me. But it'll probably only be for the time that we're here.
I look away, thinking.
Then I'll be back to my old self.
He squeezes my shoulder.
But it's important to me what you think. We're in this together.
Alright, so do we let
Hey, so-
Carl... do we tell
I
him to
feel
fight
like-
it, or do we tell him to let it help us?
I feel like this is the deciding moment, right? Like-
Yes, actually, this is the thing that will decide whether we get a good end or a bad end for Carl's route.
Okay, so concern Jenna's character also has Dark Thing attacking it,
Mm-hmm.
but
She's
Thought-
not being attacked, she's being possessed, so...
yeah, well, they're both being possessed,
Mhm.
is basically what's happening.
Yeah.
But story-wise, to me, it makes sense for him to, like, one, Carl is actually empowered, and 2, Carl is suggesting that this is a good thing, and we should trust Carl. But also, we can, like, oh god, I hate this, because Carl is, it's like, no, we value Carl for Carl,
Yeah,
not Carl for a thing possessing him.
that makes it really hard.
I like you for you, and the fact that you have a ghost haunting and puppeting your body, helping us get out of this murder mansion.
Yeah, well, and that's my concern, right? So story-wise, it seems like the ghost didn't seem like a bad guy for a long time.
Did he ever?
Right? Like the ghost did things to help us.
Mm-hmm.
But I also don't like the idea of telling Carl...
We want you to be possessed.
Correct. And it really wasn't good for Carl and Jenna.
You know how
Jenna
some
beat
people
the
are like telling their significant other, I like it when you have like long hair, when you keep your hair short. I like it when you're possessed.
Yeah, well, and that's why So, story-wise, it almost feels like we should tell Carl he's good on his own. But
You mean to fight it?
yeah, right? But that also seems like that could have awful ramifications.
The one thing I'm concerned with fighting it is that whoever's possessing him might then
Drive him crazy.
Yep.
Well, the thing that's possessing him is supposed to be his ancestor, so theoretically it would want the best for him.
Correct. That was the other thing. And if you look at how this game kind of has evolved, that particular ghost has something that they need to overcome.
Yeah. And so at this point,
That ghost got killed, right? And it seems like it got killed by something with Jenna. Jenna's character.
Now, I can't say too much because I actually know what's the good choice and what's the bad choice.
yeah. There's a piece of me that's leaning towards let it help us. But yeah, I'm like, oh.
It feels weird having a ghost help us.
Yeah.
Now, here's something I'm going to suggest. I was wanting us to go through both the bad end and the good end anyway, so I'm going to let you guys pick what you want to pick, because I want to see which one you would have picked naturally, but I am going to say I will have us go through the bad end first, and then do the good end as the second path.
Okay.
Okay.
But I want to see what you guys pick naturally on your own.
Okie doke. Yeah, I'm kind of leaning for let it help us, but yeah, at the same time, it's like because it is a little bit conflicting, where it's like, yeah, Carl, you're your own person. You should fight it. What are you thinking, DJ?
I'm conflicted.
Yeah, the
story.
American democracy at work with only one vote?
I would
Yeah.
say I would fight it. That'd be my go-to choice right away, because if we want Carl to be his own person, that's what I would pick.
Alright, so I have one vote for fight it, one vote for let it help us.
No!
Yeah.
No!
You
Yeah,
must
'cause
let it go.
Oh, God, no!
Let it go.
Yeah, because like story-wise, I feel let it help us would probably make more sense. Character-wise, find it would most yeah, no. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm still keeping my vote as let it help us.
And Alan can't vote because he knows both outcomes.
Yep.
Mhm.
So it's all down to you.
Oh, gosh, I hate it.
The only way to get a good ending was to actually befriend TJ earlier, back at the amusement park. We were already screwed.
Okay, hold on. So he just said, he wants to let it possess him, right?
Yeah. Because it made him feel high.
No, he wants it to possess us because he thinks it will help people he cares about.
That was part of it, but he did say it made him feel very confident and basically was like the best high he had had. It basically was something taking over and making him feel like he was doing good for once.
Fight it.
Okay, that's your vote?
Yeah.
Alright, I'm gonna go back and save real quick. Because I want to make sure we have the... That's not how I access the number 18. What the heck? Can I get to the number 18 somehow? No?
No. You're not allowed.
Okay, I guess I'll just have to click. Alright, and the correct answer is... Fighting it actually leads to the good ending.
Yay!
Oh, oh shit.
I did it! Screw you, Hannah!
Okay, so... No, that makes sense. Putting the character first. Yeah.
Yeah, because you were saying, what hinted me in, and maybe, Alan, you gave too much of a hint,
I did.
was that it made him feel it was like the best high he's ever had.
Yeah.
And that is his ghost to overcome. Also, if he lets it help us, that would mean that whoever is it with him and with Jenna would beat the shit out of each other. And last but not least, Chase was having a bad dream because of the thing.
Alright, so I'm gonna have us do the bad end first, so let it help us. Well, I don't exactly like the idea of whatever it is changing Carl, influencing him. It might be our only choice. I think you should probably let it.
Yeah?
Carl looks at me, and I can tell he's a little surprised. Maybe it's basically trying to help us, right? And if it's James, he knows exactly what we need to do.
Yeah.
Carl sounds a little reluctant, but I can tell he's starting to agree with me. And it'll only be for the time that we're here. He just wants to show us his story, then we can get out. I don't mention that a more confident Carl will make everything easier as well. I just had to make sure that he and Jenna were carefully kept separate.
Oh, that's the other problem.
Either way, we are in this together. I'll make sure things don't get out of hand between you and it.
Oh, this sounds... Yeah, now this feels more like a bad idea, Dance.
We sit there for a while, Carl absorbing what I just said. It's clear that whatever is influencing Carl, and probably Jenna, is powerful, and we had to be careful. Whatever he decides, I just pray it's the right decision. I wake up groggily, my head throbbing a bit from laying it on the stiff pillow. Like the last time I woke up, it takes me a while to realize where I am. And just like last time, I get a sinking feeling in my stomach when I realize where it is. I lay on my side, staring at the wall in front of me, watching shadows dance along the log bumps. It's depressing, though not as much as the last time. At some point, I guess I realized that there wasn't much else I could do. Just go with it and hope something happens. At least there seemed to be a goal in mind of whatever had control of this. Whatever it was. Suddenly I feel an arm slide over my hip and I stiffen. Carl breathes into the back of my neck.
What's up?
I shiver as he breathes against my neck. Nothing, just thinking.
About?
A bunch of things. Carl squeezes my hard.
He suddenly became Leo.
Basically,
Yelp. What's
more
that?
confident Carl equals Leo.
Oh god. I yelp and jump as he chuckles. Dude, what the hell? Okay, I didn't whisper, but I probably should have. Try and keep my voice down for fear of Raven and Jenna hearing. Especially Jenna. Carl doesn't say anything, choosing to nuzzle the fur on the back of my neck while he grinds his against my. I guess it's okay since we sort of made things official last night. Still, his behavior feels like it's coming out of nowhere.
I mean, you told him to.
Are you okay? He chuckles.
Yeah, everything is fine now that I got your tight butt here from me.
I turn my head and squint back at him. Are you acting like this because of James, or are you just trying to be more confident? Carl gazes back at me with half-lidded eyes before he starts waggling his brows. I turn away again and lay my head on the pillow. Well, I think you're trying too hard. Just let it come natural. Ah! Carl dives in again and starts nuzzling my neck, running his hands over my body. I writhe and try not to laugh, but it's no use, and soon I'm laying out full-on guffaws. Wait, stop. Carl doesn't let up though, and it's not until we hear voices drifting from up and downstairs that we do stop. It sounds like Raven, but I'm pretty sure he's talking to Jenna. I rolled my back in Carl's arms and turned my head to him. We gotta keep it down. I'm reminded of our situation when I see some flakes of blood from Carl's nose and the big splotches on his shirt.
I guess we're being a little loud.
Yeah. How's your nose? Carl automatically raises a hand to touch his nose.
Meh. I'm fine.
Alright. I lay there in silence for a few seconds, feeling like the moment is kind of ruined. I look again at the walls, remembering that we should be looking for something instead of messing around like this.
Looking for something?
Not sure. Hey, we should be finding something, right?
Hmm?
Carl lazily starts drawing circles on my chest with a finger. I mean, didn't that ghost, ancestor, whatever it was, tell you that we needed to find stuff? Carl rubs his nose.
Yeah, in the last place we were in at least.
I guess it would be the same for this place, right? Unless it was what we already burned up.
Yeah.
Carl lays there quietly, thinking. Well, I think I might try to look downstairs. You want to stay up here and look around?
I guess.
I want to get the other two to start looking too. The threat of Jenna hangs heavy in the air, and the way we're both obviously avoiding it makes it all the heavier.
What about your ankle?
I flex it around. The twinge a lot less sharp now, though the stiffness feels even worse. I think I'm okay. Let me try it out.
Okay.
Carl holds on to me for a while longer, giving my neck one last nuzzle before letting me go. I sit up and swing my legs over the side of the bed. Pressing my foot to the floor, the twinge that runs through my ankle is minuscule. Standing up, I'm able to put some pressure on it before it hurts too much. The problem is that I can't bend the joint at all, leaving me with an obvious and lumbering limp. I think I'm okay.
Sure you don't want to ride on my back down the stairs at least?
I consider it, but I don't really want him and Jenna anywhere near each other. especially after what she might have heard just now. Nah, I just want to test it out a bit more.
Bad idea, dance.
I turn my head to look back at Carl. His brows are raised at me, like he doesn't really think I can do it. I'll call you if I need any help, okay? Carl purses his lips.
Alright.
The trip down the stairs is ponderous and awkward. I'm probably loud, too, because when I reach the bottom, I find both Raven and Jenna already staring at me. Hey.
Hey!
Jenna doesn't say anything, continuing to watch me. We stare at each other awkwardly for a bit, before she finally moves her head to look down at my leg.
How's your leg?
Oh, it's alright. A bit stiff, though. I grasp at the opportunity to talk about anything other than what we were obviously avoiding. I think I should be able to walk normally, maybe in a few days.
Hopefully in a few days we'll be out of here, so you can do that.
Yeah. Jenna is definitely not herself right now. Her eyes are vacant, dull, and it's hard to explain, but they lack the mischievous and compassionate look that I'm used to seeing. Her voice is weird too. It's deeper, more husky.
We'll be out of here by then.
Raven says with a grin as he leans back in the chair that he's sitting in. Yeah, actually, I wanted to talk to you guys about that.
About what?
About the fact that we're in the bad ending right now. I mean, about how we get out of here.
And how do we do that?
Well, I was thinking that the last time we were able to unlock the door, all we had to do was find that letter. Raven blinks at me.
So, we find a letter.
Or something like that. We just need to find something, I think.
We did find something.
I look over at Jenna. Huh?
I said we did find something. Carl burned it.
Oh, well, I don't think Carl burned it.
He did.
I pause. But there's gotta be something else. Or maybe whatever's doing this has a way of putting something else here. The others don't say anything. I don't know, but we can't just sit here. Looking around is the least we can do.
Where's Carl?
Jenna's standing up now, looking at the ceiling. Faintly, I can hear the clopping of Carl's hooves on the soft wood. He's looking around upstairs. Jenna continues to look up at the ceiling, her face stony.
Let's start in this room.
Raven stands up and starts walking along the wall, looking up and down the logs, prodding at the spaces between. Jenna's still looking up at the ceiling, and I worry that she's going to try and go upstairs. Hey, Jenna, can you help me look around the kitchen? Jenna looks back at me.
Huh?
My ankle still kinda hurts. It'd be nice to be able to lean on someone if I need to walk far, like to the kitchen. Jenna pauses before moving over to my side. She stands there, stoically, and I awkwardly wrap an arm around her shoulders. Thanks.
Yeah.
We amble slowly to the kitchen. Jenna stops in the middle of the room and waits. I guess I'll start with the cabinets? My voice goes up at the end, like I'm asking a question. Jenna doesn't say anything, so I stumble away from her, again awkwardly, before finding support on the wooden pantry. Oh, wooden pantry, you're the only one who really cares about me. I hesitantly start opening up some of the cupboards, feeling a lot less into my idea than I was just a few minutes earlier. Jenna stares out the window. So, are you okay? She finally looks back at me, frowning.
I'm fine. Why?
You're being really distant?
Do you need me to stand next to you?
No, I mean, you seem like you're not really here mentally.
I'm sorry.
I open another pantry door to see a set of glass mugs. Is it something to do with Carl? I know that Jenna is going through something similar to what Carl is. I just have no idea what's doing it or why. Unlike Carl, though, Jenna's thing isn't helping us.
I don't have a problem with Carl.
I mean, what you did yesterday.
I just have a problem with the way he acts. He could do a lot if he put his mind to it.
It takes me a moment to realize she's talking about what happened before all of this. So, you attacked him?
What? No, that was something else.
I turn around and finally see something familiar about Jenna. Some life in her eyes. Maybe all I have to do is talk about stuff before this whole warp to ghost dimension. I mean, he tries, he just has problems. Shouldn't a psychology major know that? Jenna looks away from me.
I guess. But I'm not a therapist,
So what?
so I don't know.
No, I mean, shouldn't anyone have sympathy?
I'd have a little more sympathy if he'd actually try and get help.
He has, but it's not that easy. Again, I don't feel like I should be explaining this to someone who has 4 years of psychology under her belt, and fuck you, Chase! Just because she has 4
boy.
years of psychology under her belt doesn't mean she has to fully understand Carl's situation, nor does it mean she has to understand therapy.
Yeah, no, seriously.
I was waiting for one of the two of you to get mad.
Well, and being a psych major, there are so many different kinds of classes you can take too. So it's very possible that she might not actually have taken very many, if any, clinical classes.
Yeah,
And
I made it
fuck
through
you,
my
Chase.
psych degree without any clinical.
Yeah, I will admit I did actually take some kind of clinical / therapy related classes, but even then, that's not enough to really equip you for actually knowing how to fully deal with people's problems.
Yeah, actually, I should probably give a stipulation. I did take 1 or 2 clinical classes, but they were the required ones, and they weren't teaching you how to actually do therapy. Obviously, it was more these are some disorders that you might hear about type of classes.
Yeah, I took up normal psych in undergrad, and there was actually one class where it was kind of meant for kind of an intro to therapy sort of thing, things to think about for that, which was cool, but it was a very basic yep. My dog just sat on my lap, so I needed to move the computer. It was a very basic understanding for very specific scenarios. It was a cool class, but yeah, it's not enough to make you a licensed therapist or to be an expert.
Oh yeah.
Nope.
Part of me is a little miffed of Chase for this, but then again, I had to remember that this is 2015 and he's still 21 when he's saying this bullshit.
Also, the general world does not understand that you psych majors are not all therapists. I always have to say to people, I'm like, yeah, my wife,
Yeah.
she's studying psychology, which, by the way, does not mean she knows how to psychoanalyze me
Yeah.
or you. She
Yeah.
actually is just studying psychology, which means she's looking into the brain. She studies children's brains, but that doesn't mean she's licensed to talk about how children... No, she's not in child psychology. She just looks at the way... you know what? She's studying people brains.
Yeah, no, I think one of my biggest pet peeves is whenever people oh, so are you gonna psychoanalyze me? I'm like, no, that's not, no.
No, that was my ex, says DJ.
So for me, most of the people who talk about oh, are you gonna do this or that, usually they're oh, you're gonna tell me finally how crazy I am. I'm like, yeah, you're really already insane. I don't even need to do a therapy session because I am that sarcastic person. I have diagnosed multiple people as being clinically insane because I don't have that ability to diagnose them, but they want that for some reason.
Wonderful.
I am that type of sass if you piss me off.
I love it.
Yeah.
Alright, back to this. I tried to get help, but I didn't feel better for years. Jenna doesn't say anything. Carl's problems really didn't start until his first year of college. I keep pulling open cupboards. My heart's sinking a little more each time there's nothing inside. I mean, yeah, he had problems before, but it's only getting worse for him.
Well, it doesn't matter what I think about Carl right now. We're trying to find a way out of here, and screwing around isn't going to help.
Jenna says it in such a way that I feel like I'm supposed to be... that I feel like it was supposed to be pointed. There's a little doubt now that she's heard us messing around upstairs. I sigh and reach up to pull open the last cabinet.
He's not who you think he is.
It's so quiet and deep, I'm not sure it's Jenna that said it. I turn around and she's already on the other side of the room, standing next to the opposite set of the pantries. Did you say something? She doesn't respond, so I stare at her for another few seconds before slowly turning back around. The fur on the back of my neck prickles at the idea of turning my back on her. It. Why did these damned ghosts have to be so subtle and cryptic? If that's what it is, of course. Seemed like James had no trouble telling Carl about the whole clue-finding crap. Why couldn't they just tell him, or even Jenna, right now instead of just creeping me out? The kitchen isn't very big, so I run out of things to search through pretty quickly. I skip the area around the window, though not having forgotten what happened yesterday. Yesterday? I don't know how to keep track of time in this place. I look back over at Jenna, who's still in the same place, staring at the pantry. The thought that maybe I myself could be possessed momentarily passes through my mind. For some reason, I doubt it, even though I'm not sure why. I don't really feel like I'm of interest to whatever it is that's doing this. At least not directly. I look around the room, at the ceiling and at the floor. It's a small place, but there are so many nooks and crannies in this place that it could be in a million places. Maybe we should assign halves. I pause as I hear a loud clopping coming down from the stairs. Jenna pauses too. Her ears perked. What the fuck is that ram doing? Sure enough, the ram suddenly comes swinging around the opening of the stairs. I shake my head vigorously at him, but he ignores me. Jenna stands there stiffly, arms folded tightly. Hey, Carl, why aren't you looking around upstairs? Carl stands there in the doorway, looking at me with a grin.
I know where it is.
My eyes widen. Really? Upstairs? He ignores me again, instead walking around me to the end of the room. He halts in front of the wood-burning stove. Carl, what are you doing? Again, he doesn't say anything, instead kneeling to twist the metal handles on the stove door before letting it fall open. Jenna walks closer, but is sure to keep her distance, her arms still folded.
Hey, what's going on?
Oh fuck, I forgot that you were here.
Rip.
Raven looks around at us, not even bothering to read the room.
Did you find something?
Carl looks into the stove before slapping the top of the metal stove.
Ha! There it is.
What? But how?
How did you know it was there, Carl?
Jenna's voice is deep and husky again. Her expression is dark, her eyes narrowed at Carl. Carl ignores both of us as he reaches into the stove. His head is pressed up against the sides of the stove as he strains to get whatever it is. I'm about to ask what it is again when he suddenly pulls back and punches the stove.
God damn it!
I jump. He suddenly turns around to face us, his eyes briefly resting on Jenna before he turns to me.
Hey, I think you're small enough to get it.
What?
Oh.
What am I getting?
Carl.
As if he hadn't heard any of us, he grabs me by the arm and pulls me to the stove.
Hey,
Don't worry about it.
Carl finally responds to Jenna, though he keeps his grip on me as he gets out of the way and positions me in front of the stove.
He's just getting something I can't quite reach because I'm fat.
He's just getting me something because this body that I'm in currently is fat. He pushes me down to duck in towards the opening and point to the back of the stove, upwards to where the chimney is.
See that white piece of paper?
I'm barely able to make out a white smudge in the sea of darkness. Yeah?
That's our ticket out here.
He gives me a slight nudge in the back. I normally wouldn't have a problem crawling into an unlit stove, but something about the setting being in a haunted cabin makes me nervous. He gives me another nudge, more insistent this time, and I slowly crawl onto the edge of the stove. It's a tight fit, but I am skinny enough to make it. I decide to sit on the ledge of the opening while the rest of my body stretches inside. The smell is smoky, and the air is cool. I wonder subconsciously if the chimney might lead up into the outside. I reach up towards the chimney, feeling around the rough and metallic surface before I make contact with a stiff piece of folded paper. I close my fingers around it and pull, gaining just a little resistance before it comes loose. At that moment, something caresses my hand. Rough tipped fingers that almost lovingly run up my arm and wrist. I yelp and jump, banging my head against the roof of the stove. I fall sideways into the ash-filled bottom. I'm on the verge of panic when Carl reaches in and pulls me out, banging my head again as I fall onto the wooden floor.
What happened? Are you alright?
Something grabbed me. I rub my head with one hand, the other clutching onto the paper. Carl roughly pats my clothes, sending clouds of ash into the air. I cough and sputter, feeling all kinds of grit in my throat.
Might have been just imagining it. Who knows what kind of shit is dangling in that chimney?
Yeah. I frown at Carl. How did you know where this was? He grins at me.
Same way it happened last time.
So it is paying off. Ah, well, at least we have someone giving us some direction in this place. Jenna snorts, but I choose to ignore her. I look at the old yellow piece of paper in my hands. It's a lot older looking than the photocopied newspaper that had burned up earlier.
So you think that's what we need to find?
Raven asks excitedly, staring at the paper.
It is.
After a few more hacks, I finally manage to start getting my breathing under control. I make my way over to toward the candle for better light. Well, I guess I'll read this out. A hand suddenly grabs at my wrist. Confused, I pull it away instinctively, and that's when someone grabs at the paper, at the same time shoving me back. Jenna! Her face is locked and determined, grabbing my wrist and pulling at the paper with her other hand. I probably would have given her the paper if she'd asked, but this sudden aggression has me automatically resisting. She grabs me and swings me around. We both fall against the bench under the window. Jenna's hand smacks against my nose, bringing tears to my eyes. I yelp as she pulls her fingers in, raking lines of fire down my nose with her claws. There's pounding in my ears, and I distantly register that the drums have started up again. She twists out from under me and pulls away from the bench. When the fuck did she get this strong? I numbly keep my grip on her wrists and she swinging me away from her. I lose my grip and stumble back, stepping wrong on my foot and rebending my ankle the exact same way I did last time.
Ow.
I yelp again, this time much more loudly as I crumple to the ground. Carl swears and jumps over me at Jenna. Wait! I tried to grab him by the hoof that's passed over me, but I miss miserably. As I sit up, I hear an ungodly, bestial snarling, and I look up to see Carl wrestling and kicking and snatching Jen to the ground.
That is fucking it.
He pins her there while she writhes under him, trying to scratch at his face.
Stop it, guys!
Raven is standing off to the side, his paws on his head, pulling at his ears. I crawl over their writhing bodies, one eye wincing shut as each movement sends a lightning bolt through my leg. I grab at Jenna's hands, forcing them down above her head. Jenna, stop! Jenna suddenly kicks one of her legs up between Carl's legs as he kneels over her.
Oh, fuck!
He crumples over on top of Jenna, lying on her legs as he tries to pin his thighs together. And you don't have to say that word, Matt.
I prefer not to. If that's okay.
Yeah, we'll just squeak that. Carl rears back and punches at her face, landing a glancing blow, but it's enough to snap her face to the side. Stop! I force myself between the two of them, shoving Carl's chest while straddling Jenna's neck. It's an awkward position, but I'm trying to protect her and stop her from retaliating at the same time. Stop it! What the hell are you doing? I say it to both of them as Carl tries to reach around me for the paper in Jenna's hand. Jenna snarls up at me, but it's softer this time. Her struggles die down a little, and after holding my gaze for about 10 seconds, she looks away. I notice a little bit of blood collecting in the front of her lips. Seeing the paper held loosely in her hand, I quickly reach out and snatch it back in case she tries to attack again. She doesn't, instead just laying there with her hands above her head, staring at the ceiling. I slowly push off the fox, taking Carl with me as I do. He's not fighting anymore either, instead taking the paper from me and holding it firmly in his hands while he glares at Jenna. Raven. Raven, still with his fingers twisted around his ears, looks over to me.
Yeah?
Take Jenna upstairs. Take a nap or something. I think we need to be kept separate. Raven's easily able to coax Jenna up off the floor, and they head upstairs, Jenna looking down at the floor all the while. I scoot over to Carl, holding my breath as each drag sends another spasm through my leg. Only now am I really feeling the pain in my ankle. Carl is busy inspecting the note, as if he's worried it's damaged.
She's gonna try and fucking burn it.
He holds it up to the candlelight.
Like this would be getting back at me for earlier. She thinks I burnt that fucking paper.
How do you know that?
The way she was looking at the candle right before she came at you, and she's just the kind of person that would do that.
He looks at my ankle.
You fucked up your ankle again?
Yeah.
God, what a stupid bitch.
Carl. He looks up at me.
What?
I've never heard you talk like that before. Carl shrugs, unfolding the paper.
Well, I've never been attacked like that before.
I look closely at his face. It's still Jenna. You hit her pretty hard.
She kicked me in the nuts.
Well, yeah, but I'm just... Carl doesn't seem very interested at all in what I'm trying to say. She's not herself either. I think that the same thing's happening to her.
Same thing?
Like what's happening to you. We know Jenna had ancestors in Echo at the very beginning. What if she was being affected by an ancestor just like Carl is? But for some reason, deep down, I feel very uneasy about bringing up John in front of this Carl.
Yeah, but
Even if they were lovers, something's clearly wrong now. Carl shrugs.
She's always been kind of a bitch.
I swallow down whatever I'm about to say next.
Anyway, I'm gonna read this so we can move the fuck on, alright?
Okay. I'm confused and worried. Did I make the wrong decision telling Carl what to do last night? I don't
Yep.
know, maybe?
Just a little bit.
This isn't like him at all. The ram holds up the letter, clearing his throat.
My dearest John, I've been hearing terrible things lately. They say you've been accusing me of the most egregious monstrosities. I dare not believe them. In fact, I will not hear your words for myself. There must be some misunderstanding. Has one of my many political enemies pitted you against me? Are they using the missing native boys as a weapon against my campaign? I would not think that to be below them, but what concerns me most is you. Please visit me at my mansion. We must speak on this. I very much look forward to your company and believe that we can soon set this straight. Yours forever, James.
I look up at Carl. He looks back at me. So, why did you put on a British accent?
Did you know I'm part British?
Oh, okay. What do you think that means?
That's fun.
Carl shrugs.
I don't know. John clearly did something terrible to James. Right.
Well, maybe, but what? It sounds like he tried to frame him or something. I remember the newspaper clipping that had somehow gone up in flames. Hey, that newspaper article that burned up said something about a Meseta kid that went missing.
So John tried to pin missing native boys on James?
Maybe. We still don't know if John was doing it anyway. James doesn't seem to know either. I wonder if maybe the James inside of Carl has any idea of what's going on right now.
Oh shit.
You okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I had a belch.
That's
It
okay.
felt really weird.
Alright, just want to make sure you're alright.
Yeah.
If
It's
he does,
uncomfortable.
he's not saying anything. I look at the ram who's in the middle of rereading the letter. You okay?
I'm fine.
Are your, okay? Carl shrugs again.
They're fine.
I think about making a joke about making them feel better, but that doesn't feel really appropriate right now.
Yeah,
in the middle of a
probably
horror
not.
situation and, the fight between two of my friends. But then again, I could just make a sex joke now.
Stop! Don't touch me there. That is my nono square.
Stop! Don't touch me there. This is my no-no plot.
Wow.
Oh, God.
I'm more concerned about Jenna. I think she's becoming more dangerous the longer we're here.
Yeah. It seemed at this point, Jenna isn't really Jenna anymore.
We need to have a talk with her about resisting John.
Yeah? I mean, James is helping you, right?
He's helping me, yeah. but John's not helping her at all.
I look in the direction of the door as a loud click emanates from it. Carl's long ears perk and he follows my gaze. We both stare at it for a few seconds. Is it unlocked? Carl gets to his feet and strides confidently over to the door. Careful. I say, a little apprehensive that something might open from the other side. Carl doesn't say anything as he stands in front of the door. Reaching out, he rests a hand on the handle, then gives it a slight push. It shifts open a few inches. Carl looks back at me.
Get the others.
We all stand around the door, Carl to my right and Raven to my left. Raven and I making sure there is maximum distance between Jenna and Carl.
Mhm.
The door is still shifted open a few inches, and the vertical black void it reveals is a little ominous.
So, we just go through?
Isn't that what we did last time?
Yeah. I feel like the real question is if we really want to go through the door in the first place. Is it just going to lead to another terrible place where terrible things happen? I feel a void similar to the one I am looking at open up in my chest. The thought of being trapped in a loop, going through door after door that leads to nothing but horror. Already this place was having an effect on Jenna that seems to be getting worse with each passing hour. How much longer can she keep it together? We're back.
Hello?
Hey.
My internet tried to kill me, but I'm back and better than ever.
You can't kill me, Internet. What doesn't kill me makes me stronger.
But it also makes my connection weaker.
Ah.
Either way, this is Jenna's line.
Oh, I don't think you're sharing it.
You're not
with
sharing
Oh
it.
god, why didn't anyone tell me that before I started recording?
I want to see how long it take for you to notice.
Alright, I'm gonna pause.
Alright, you're gonna resume our recording now.
Alright, maybe I'm sharing it, maybe we're recording, and maybe my internet won't die, and maybe life will be kind to me for once.
Hello? Hi, everybody. We're a little worried about Alan right now.
What did the letter say?
I tense up. Anything she does now is putting me on edge, like I'm just waiting for her to lash out again. My hand drifts conspiratorially to my pocket, where the folded up letter is. I glance to my right at Carl, but he's got his eyes on the door. A few things. Just more history stuff.
About what?
I decided that moment that I have to lie. I had to lie out of my ass. We need to keep Jenna, or John, calm if we want to get through this. I have a feeling that John wouldn't want to hear James revealing what I assume are secrets. I didn't read anything about John trying to sabotage James in my research, but maybe that's what James is trying to tell us. So I shrug my shoulders, moving my hands away from my pocket. Stuff about the mine. How, there wasn't enough of it to sustain the town. I'm worried Jenna might challenge my lie, for whatever reason. She doesn't say anything, though, and Carl just keeps on staring straight ahead. Raven suddenly claps his hands together, making me jump.
So, should we open it?
So I just want to share one of my favorite things from a review of Echo was the summarization of Raven was, Husky boy over here is just enjoying life.
Basically. I've been playing him like that. He's just like, now that is a typical response. Hey, trauma. Seems like everyone's really stressed out. Hi everybody, I'm a dog.
Raven reaches out. Wait! The husky pauses and looks back at me expectantly, his black ears tipped forward. Should we do this? I mean, it's probably just gonna lead to another place where we have to find another thing.
Yeah.
So maybe we shouldn't keep going. I stumble over my words, trying to piece together my feelings and put them into sentences as I go. I just think that they're not really on our side, you know? I make an effort not to look at Jenna. So if they're not, why are we doing what they want us to do? I realize I'm shaking now, and I make an effort to make my hands still.
What else should we do?
Raven's tone isn't excusatory, it's just genuinely curious. I don't have a very good answer. Well, maybe we can find a way back somehow. Maybe we're still in Carl's house right now. Carl's house. That place seems like it's 1,000 miles and years away at this point. Maybe we can, wake ourselves up somehow. Raven doesn't respond, and neither does anyone else. I realize how stupid I must sound. Sorry, I just feel like we're taking things too fast right now. Carl clears his throat. Carl?
Hang on. Trust me, we're going somewhere.
The Rand leaves it at that, and I'm left to wonder if James knows exactly where we're going. If he does, why doesn't Carl tell us now? How in control is he? It's something that I would have to bring up later, since I'm not going to be doing that in front of Jenna.
You can stay here if you want, Otter.
It takes me a second to realize she's talking to me. Is she really that gone? I just hope that if we reach the end of this, we can get her back somehow.
You would like that, wouldn't you?
I cough, clearing my throat as I realize another fight could be about to start up. No, I'll go. I just wanted to think about it for a second.
Have you thought about it then?
Yeah. I look at Carl, but he's still staring stoically at the door.
Well, if that's all, then let's go.
Jenna steps forward to grab the door handle, and I bite my tongue to keep from saying we should wait again. The door swings open to reveal blackness, just like the last time. Unlike the last time, though, there's a spot of flickering light in the distance. The fire. Everything's quiet right now. No drumbeat, but the darkness is unnatural. It's inky and thick. It's like it's alive. I get the unnerving feeling that it's trying to eat the light from the fire. Maybe towards the fire? Jenna suddenly steps forward, and just like that, she's swallowed by the darkness. Jenna, wait! She ignores me. Carl gives his shoulders another shrug.
That's all we can see, so I assume that's the right direction to go.
I see her form pass in front of the firelight a few times, then she's gone.
All right, here we go.
Despite his nervousness, Raven still sounds cheerful about stepping into oblivion.
Raven over here, just living my best life.
Yep.
I'm suddenly yanked sideways to lean against the Rand's sturdy shoulder. Then we're off, Carl tugging me into the darkness.
Stay close.
Yeah. We're immersed in blackness. Not only do things go dark visually, but the change is physical too. I don't know if it's all in my head, but I feel heavier, like the darkness is pushing down on my shoulders. It's colder too, to the point where I can feel the heat radiating off Carl's body when I brush up against him.
Try to move faster.
Oh, okay. Despite my best attempts, the going is slow, and not just because of my injured, probably broken ankle. The ground is uneven and rocky, like we're outside walking in the desert. Which I realize is exactly what we're doing when we walk straight into what feels like sagebrush. Carl thrashes around with the hand, not holding on to me, and we're able to sort of stumble around it. Where the hell are we? I mutter as I stub my toe painfully on a rock.
Lols.
Outside.
Yeah, but where outside?
The desert.
So, do you think we're still in Echo? Carl's quiet for a moment.
No.
I wonder if maybe all the others, TJ, Leo, and Flynn, are out here too, in the darkness. I want to call out, but I'm too nervous that's going to attract something to us. I still remember the black figure dancing around the fire we're walking towards at this very moment. We're close enough now that I'm starting to be able to make out Carl in the darkness. I look back at the house to see how far we've gone. All that I can make out now are two rectangles of light. One for the door we came out of, and one for the kitchen window. In the latter, a dark figure stands framed by the faint light inside. I squint, not really sure of what I'm seeing. Then it moves, disappearing from the window. I stop walking, and Carl stops with me, looking back over his shoulder.
What?
Did one of the others go back? The black figure appears again, this time in the doorway of the house. I don't even have time to react to that before it steps forward and the door swings shut with a distant snap. Oppressive blackness takes its place. I grab onto Carl more tightly.
What the hell?
My mind flashes back to the black thing I'd seen crawling out of the wardrobe. Come on. I nudge into Carl's side, trying to get him to hurry along while resisting the urge to try and run on my twisted ankle. I'm realizing it might come to that. Raven! Jenna! I call out in the darkness ahead of us, wanting to warn them. Over our ragged breathing, though, there's dead silence all around us, except for a drum beat. Either they can't hear us, or they can't respond. Carl's gripping onto me with both his hands, practically hauling me off my feet as he pulls me along. Suddenly he stops before almost growling at me.
Jesus Christ! Get off! Get on my back! I almost said off.
He leaves me there to die.
The end.
Click.
Credits roll.
Ben.
He lets me go and crouches down in front of me. Even with everything going on, I'm a bit hurt by his tone. Like I'm the main problem right now. I'm there before he even finishes his sentence, and soon my face is bouncing off his hard skull as he starts sprinting towards the fire. Whether it's in my head or not, I swear I can hear a slithering sound behind me, like a snake sliding over dry leaves. I shiver, not wanting to look back, but I do anyway, trying to peer into the darkness. Of course I can't see anything, but I swear something flashes in front of the lone rectangle of light coming out from the cabin's kitchen window. The rustling sound gets louder, and now I can't pretend that I'm imagining it. It casts a picture into my mind. That black shadow creature contorting and bending through the sagebrush that Carl was having so much trouble moving through. I hold on to one of his horns and lean towards his ear. Carl, it's getting close. Then my stomach lurches as it feels like the floor suddenly drops away. Next thing I know, my nose smacks hard into the back of Carl's head before I flip over, landing on my back in what feels like a sea of sharp rocks. I lay there for a second, dazed, staring at the black ocean above me, wondering if any of this is real. Am I still dreaming? Maybe I'll just wake up in my dorm, probably late for my legal and ethical issues in journalism class.
Fuck! Get up!
A muffled voice breaks through my haze of confusion and pain. Then I'm being yanked back as Carl pulls me up to my feet and forcefully shoves me back onto his back.
Get up!
I'm trying. I can barely mumble through my numb mouth, which feels like it's full of pennies. I can see I'm making dark stains on the back of Carl's shirt. It feels like my face is caved in. I wonder if my nose is broken, but the fear of pursuit is returning, and I quickly clutch at Carl's horns before he resumes his sprint. He finally comes to a stumbling halt in front of the massive bonfire, which looked so small from the cabin. We both stare up at it, the heat almost unbearable. The whispers behind me reach a crescendo, the hissing just over my shoulder.
Shit!
What are we supposed to do? My voice raises in pitch as I look back behind us, the black shadow now discernible in the firelight as it slithers around rocks and sagebrush. It's like a person imitating a snake. I grip onto Carl as he turns to face it, then takes a step back, then another.
I don't fucking know.
I cling to the ram, and I can feel him trembling underneath me. As the creature reaches the edge of the circle of firelight, Carl turns and starts running past the fire. And then my muscles seize up, my jaw clenches, my eyes roll back, and I feel myself falling backwards. The heat is almost unbearable, and my fur is damp from sweat, the skin underneath itching and uncomfortable. I can feel the sun on my face, the brightness turning the insides of my eyelids a dazzling red. I don't want to open them, though. No, I just want to sleep. I almost do fall asleep, but a distant choir of shouts and screams jolt me back awake. Now I do try to open my eyes, but I can't. It's like they're glued shut. I reach up to paw at them, but my arms won't lift. I must be dreaming, stuck in paralysis. So I lay there, listening to the shouting and screaming, imagining an angry mob. After what seems like hours, the voices fade, and the red turns deeper, darker, blood-like, as if the sun is setting. And that's when I can finally drift away, back to sleep. Okay, now we can stop, because there's a big scene that's about to come up, and there's no way we can get through that tonight. So we're gonna call it here, guys.
Alrighty.
Okie dokie.
Say
Bye.
goodbye.
Goodbye.